There's a 60-mile jungle that stops you from driving across the Americas. It's called the Darien Gap, and it's the reason why you can't road trip from Alaska to Argentina, even in the 21st century. We live in a world of engineering marvels, bridges that float across seas, tunnels that run beneath entire oceans, and highways stretching across deserts that once seemed endless. Yet, the Pan-American Highway, the longest road in the world, simply ends. Asphalt, which once promised to connect to continents, is swallowed by thick jungle. For travelers who dream of driving from Alaska to Argentina, this missing link feels like a locked door. A gap that raises an uncomfortable question: how can humanity build across oceans, but not across 60 miles of land? The Darien Gap is not just empty space, it's a natural fortress, one of the most hostile environments on Earth. Picture walking under a canopy so dense that sunlight barely reaches the ground. The air sticks to your skin, heavy with humidity. Every step sinks into mud that can rise to your knees. At night, the sounds never stop: buzzing mosquitoes, rustling leaves, growls echoing in the distance. And danger is everywhere. Venomous snakes coil unseen under leaves. Scorpions crawl into boots left overnight. Crocodiles lie still in the swamps, waiting. And invisible enemies, malaria, yellow fever, dengue, spread with every mosquito bite. Many who've crossed describe it as a nightmare with 1,000 demons. It is not exaggeration. Here, the jungle itself feels alive, as if it conspires to turn you back. The absence of a road wasn't always accepted. A century ago, leaders dreamed of uniting the Americas with a single line of asphalt. In 1923, at a conference in Santiago, Chile, the idea of Pan-Americanism was born. The goal was more than just transportation, it was political, it was cultural. A road that would weave together nations with different languages, economies, and histories into one shared identity. By the mid-20th century, section by section, the Pan-American Highway became real. From the snowy mountains of Alaska through Canada, the United States, Mexico, and Central America, progress seemed unstoppable until the road reached the Darien Gap. Engineers tried to conquer the jungle, coastal routes were tested, but rocky cliffs and raging rivers crushed every plan. In the Atrato swamp, barrels sunk 15 stories deep into mud, disappearing without a trace. Imagine trying to build a highway on ground that simply swallows everything. And yet, the world has already built impossible things. The Channel Tunnel, linking England and France under the sea. The Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, spanning 34 miles across open water. Even the Seattle Floating Bridge, carrying thousands of cars over a lake, compared to those 60 miles of jungle seemed small. But the Darien Gap was different. It wasn't just the mud, or the rivers, or the jungle. It was all of them, together, constantly shifting, rejecting intrusion. In the 1970s, US President Richard Nixon pushed for the final connection. Backed by $100 million, his plan was bold, but it triggered fierce resistance. The Sierra Club, one of America's most powerful environmental groups, warned of irreversible destruction. Farmers feared foot-and-mouth disease entering North America. In the end, the courts shut it down. What was once called the Nixon Gap became a symbol. Even money and power can be defeated when nature and society push back. But where governments failed, individuals tried. In 1961, a team set out in a Chevrolet Corvair to cross the Darien Gap. What followed was 109 days of pure struggle. The car, meant to be their greatest asset, became a burden, sinking into mud, breaking down, forcing the team to drag, dismantle, and rebuild on the go. They slept in hammocks under pouring rain, fought off swarms of insects, and crossed rivers on improvised rafts. 60 miles took them nearly 4 months. Other adventurers on motorcycles, jeeps, even military vehicles followed, most of them failing or nearly dying. The gap became a legendary rite of passage for those who wanted to test the limits of human endurance. But while thrill-seekers sought glory, migrants crossed out of desperation. In 2023 alone, more than 500,000 people entered the jungle. Families with nothing but backpacks, children carried on shoulders, the elderly barely able to walk, many never made it out. The gap for them is not an adventure, it is survival. And here lies the paradox. The road that stops cars still swallows people, the most vulnerable, the most desperate, proving that while technology can avoid the jungle, poverty cannot. Yet even as humans battle it, scientists see the Darien Gap as a treasure. It shelters jaguars, harpy eagles, and species found nowhere else. It acts as a natural border, blocking invasive animals from spreading across continents. Jaguars intercept coyotes before they can colonize South America. It's a delicate balance. One highway could shatter it. And then there are the indigenous peoples, Ambara, Wunan, Guna. For them, this forest is not an obstacle, it is identity, culture, and survival. To outsiders, it's a void on the map. To them, it is home. Of course, the Pan-American highway dream never truly died. Some propose tunnels like the one under the English Channel. Others imagine modular floating bridges or eco-roads designed to blend into the environment. The technology exists, but the cost runs into billions and the risks are enormous. Today, most travelers bypass the gap by ship, sending cars by sea for $1,000, or simply flying over it. Trade and tourism continue, the world has moved on. So the question is no longer whether we can build the road, but whether we should. The Darien Gap forces us to confront a paradox. For engineers, it is the unfinished puzzle. For migrants, it is the path of suffering. For scientists and indigenous peoples, it is a sanctuary. Should we carve through the jungle in the name of progress? Or should we accept that some limits are better left untouched? Maybe the greatest lesson of the Pan-American Highway is not about asphalt or steel. Maybe it's about humility. The gap reminds us that not every frontier needs to be conquered. And perhaps the road that was never built is the one we never truly needed. What do you think? Should the Americas finally be connected, or should the Darien Gap remain untouchable? Share your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that reveal the hidden mysteries of our world.